is Jason Burke, and I work in the fashion business.
Okay, what do you do exactly?
I'm a trend director. I help people understand what trends are coming up in the future, 12 to 60 months out
Okay.
in advance.
Okay, uh, so the first question I want to ask you
Okay.
is going back to um, Caravana 2000.
Okay.
Um, can you just explain what happened as we visited, basically?
Okay. Caravana 2000, I was out reveling, celebrating Caravana
Yeah.
with three of my best friends, and two of my friends, and one of my friends and I decided to go look for this girl that I was dating at the time. We left the club that we were um, where we started the evening, left, went to another club, tried to get into that club, had no success getting into that club, and then decided to head back to the club where our friends were.
And this is downtown Toronto.
This is downtown Toronto. Back in the day, and it's not like that so much anymore, but back at that time, there was in the club district. That's where all the clubs were in the city. So it was like an engulfed box of hundreds of clubs down there at the time. So we couldn't get into the club. Didn't work out for us. So we headed back to the club where my friends were. We opted to cut through a laneway because the club where we had gone to was right beside a laneway. This is something that we've done hundreds of times. We've gone downtown. We've gone downtown every night, multiple times on a weekend. And this particular weekend, this particular time, like normal, we decided to cut through this laneway. And about halfway through the laneway, I was approached by unmarked officers, plainclothes officers, and accused of trafficking narcotics to my friend, who is mulatto, and they perceived him to be a white male purchasing drugs from me. They essentially profiled me, and assaulted me, and posted a series of charges against me and sent me to Don jail for 4 days.
Did they find anything on you, or?
They didn't find any narcotics on me that night. When I came up for bond on Tuesday morning, they claimed that they were still looking for narcotics. By the time I came up for bond again on Wednesday, they still had found no narcotics in the laneway or on me or in my possession, in my friend's possession. And I've never trafficked drugs in my life. That was, the furthest thing from the truth.
So, like what happened? Did anything happen when you got taken to jail? What happened when you went to jail?
It was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. That night I was, assaulted by like 20 officers, struck in knee behind my ears. I now have like degenerative hearing loss behind my ears, which has caused a hearing impediment. I was kicked and punched. I was pepper sprayed. I'm an asthmatic, which is a very scary experience, especially if you're an asthmatic. I was placed in the back of a paddy wagon. And the officers, when they were taking me to the division, would slam on the brakes to have me roll around in the back of the wagon to.
Because you're handcuffed.
While I'm handcuffed and be and I'm unable to see because I've been pepper sprayed, and they're and I can hear the officer say, "Take that." And even when I get to the division, and after being pepper sprayed, I'm begging for water. So that I can rinse out my eyes, and the officers are unwilling to give me water so that I can rinse out my eyes. So I'm forced to rinse my eyes out with the water from the toilet that's in the cell, which is the only water that was accessible to me. The officers refused to share their badge information, their names, and their numbers. And so it literally in a matter of minutes I saw my life go upside down, and it was the most exasperating experience that I've ever had.
When you say went upside down in your life, what do you mean by that?
Well, I was incarcerated, and I had been assaulted viciously, and I was not able to contact my friends. I was not able to contact my family. I was not able to contact my girlfriend, who I was looking to connect with. And I didn't understand why I was in that situation. I was out with thousands of people trying to enjoy an experience. And for some reason, I ended up being the wrong person in the wrong situation at the wrong time, and clearly of the wrong ethnic makeup.
And what was, what happened after, with the police? Did they ever find anything? What happened?
So I was released on bond on the Wednesday, to my parents' bond.
This happened on the Saturday night?
This happened, I guess, technically Sunday morning. So just after midnight, on Saturday night, which we had been out. And so I was released to my parents' bond, under house arrest for 2 years with a series of criminal charges laid against me. And I swear to you, man, like, only by the grace of God, like, my parents were connected to what I consider to be one of the most influential black men in law in Canada, and they were able to place a phone call to him to explain to him what had occurred. He was able to come in and represent me from a criminal standpoint, get me through the criminal case for which took 2 years, at which the system. It's really funny. I had all these charges against me: assaulting a police officer, resisting arrest, trafficking. They never posted the trafficking narcotics charges because they weren't able to find any drugs, but there were a series of charges. And after 2 years, where they kept pushing the court date, they were continuously trying to build more evidence, trying to see if I would cave, trying to see if I would accept a lesser deal, whatever it may be. The day that I got to court, it was like February, I think, of 2002. The day that I got to court, one of the officers said to me that today was my lucky day. And I was so blown away by what he said. I had no response for him. And I guess what he had meant is by the time that we got to trial before the judge, they dropped all the charges against me in court that day. They could have dropped the charges against me any time in that 24-month period because they had no evidence to move forward. But they wanted to see what I would do in between that 24-month waiting period. When you're under house arrest, you have to be home by 11 p.m. at night. You can't leave your house before 7 in the morning. And I suspect that waiting period was just this period to see if they could, if anything else would happen in that 24-month period. And straight up, I was clean as a whistle. Like, I'm not a troublemaker. That's not, look, I like to have fun, but I'm not a troublemaker. So yeah, that's the way that it was. And after, the criminal trial, I wasn't satisfied with just having the charges dropped against me. I felt that somebody needed to take accountability and responsibility for what had happened to me.
Was this your first charge?
First time being involved with the police?
Yeah.
No, I had been involved with the police before. Ironically, the previous 2 times I'd been involved with the police, I believe that I had been profiled. I've never had charges held against me. But in each of the previous cases, I was exonerated and the charges were dropped. And so they didn't come with the level of assault that I received at the hands of Metro this time.
And did you, after the cases were dropped, did you pursue any kind of action towards the police?
Yeah, I filed a civil suit against the police in 2002. And that was a 7-year, I hate to use the word battle, but it was a 7-year battle, which, I'm still not that familiar with civil litigation, but I was surprised at how long it took. I was surprised that, the criminal portion could move so swiftly, which is 24 months, which is not a swift process, but the civil trial would take 7 years before we didn't even go the distance. We didn't even go to trial. we ended up coming to an agreement 7 years into it, because I feel like, because everybody needed to bring the matter to a conclusion, but it took 7 years for me to get the level of satisfaction that I was looking for from the case. It was 2003 it was 2003, I believe, that my defense lawyer, along with the Toronto Star, started to look into this type of situation in a series that they called Race and Crime in Toronto, and what's happening with black youth in the community, and the reporting and tagging of our brothers in the community. And I was the lead image at the time on the cover of the Star when they broke the story on Race and Crime, and that story really kind of is, when I say it turned my life upside down, that story is kind of really when my life changed. It was like I made the cover of the Star talking about race and crime, which is a highly politically charged situation. I'm a young man living in this community, and I'm not, I don't generally like to call attention to myself. Like, yes, I work in the fashion business, and yes, I've been an athlete, and I like to have fun, and I like to socialize, but I generally don't like to call attention to myself in that light. And so it's really had a significant shaping effect on my personality moving forward in life.